Welcome back to the Installer Plaza. Trust you're having a good day, had a bit of lunch, something to relax you, a little bit of a drink maybe. Will you join us here for our second great debate of the day? And we're talking about smart homes. The future is now. And now we're reading about rising energy costs all the time at the moment. It's not going to come down anytime soon. But we're looking at seeing about what we call the connected home revolution. And I've got a panel of extraordinary experts here joining me, and we're going to have a little discussion about this. It might get a bit controversial, who knows, we'll find out in a little while. But I'd like you to introduce yourselves, starting the lady on my left, one at a time. Tell us who you are, where you come from.
Okay, well, I'm Ali Bullough, and I work for JTL Training, which is the UK's big managing agent for electrical and plumbing apprentices, and I train staff as well as electricians.
Very good, thank you.
My name's Fraser, Hoehle. I'm a plumbing and heating engineer. I run my own business and don't specialise in much.
Apart from running your own business, I suspect.
My name's Remi Volpe. I'm the managing director of Drayton Controls here in the UK. We're part of Schneider Electric, so we're bringing some heating expertise to a traditionally electric company.
Okay.
Hi, and my name's Shahid Khan, technical manager of the ECA, the Electrical Contractors Association. Brilliant,
thank you. And let's start off on the basis of educating, probably me more than anybody else in this room. What is connected home? Remi, would you want to give us a bit of a hit up on that?
So it's really around where we use technology to have devices, if you want, talk to each other. I think that's the aim of it, that says they're sharing information,
in
devices.
An intelligent way, I'm assuming. I mean,
absolutely. I think that's the aspiration. What we've actually got, though, today is a lot of smart devices that don't necessarily talk to each other.
So that's where, disconnectivity at the moment. So what do we need to do to make it start to happen, and what can people do to help that happen?
A couple of things that spring to mind for me are, first, we need to make sure devices have open protocols, so they talk the same language, and it's very easy then for people to connect them and make sure that they do share information.
So to get that to happen, though, presumably you've got to get manufacturers to talk to each other first in order for it to be some sort of standardization of systems.
Exactly. So collaboration and partnerships is how we're viewing the future as well. At Schneider, yesterday we announced a partnership with Panasonic for their heat pumps, which is really about doing exactly that, using our expertise with their expertise. And we're up for more of it as well.
And you see joint ventures as kind of the way to go in that respect?
Not necessarily joint ventures, but I think a common element of saying, look, let's share data. Let's make sure our devices are simple to connect and that the devices talk to each other. So you've got to have a desire to share some of your domain knowledge, maybe open the door to a few things, but what you can get back is hopefully a simpler, easier to use system for the consumer.
Thank you. Fraser, let me come to you as someone who's at the coalface, so to speak. Well, not the coalface, obviously, but how popular is smart technology now for homeowners and also for engineers?
Very popular at the moment. Everybody wants to have smart controls. It's about affordability, though, really. It's affording the controls at the end of the day, because you're coming from...
Just hold that nice and close.
You're coming from a wired programmer, which used to be before, and now you've got to then make it wireless, which is more expensive.
And how difficult is it for you keeping up with it all? Because presumably a lot of changes, a lot of new technology coming in all the time. You know, AA and RAC men used to look at putting their heads under the bonnet. Now they get a computer out and sort of, how do they work the car? It's similar for you guys, I guess.
I'll be honest, I think it's quite easy for us to adapt. Like, if you've served an apprenticeship, you can then, it's like anything, when other things come up, you adapt quite easily to it. And again, for like a wireless thermostat, it's basically connect up your switch live, make sure it's in right, and they're all no far, making them connect like the other ones do.
Are you finding the interest from the consumer because it's a sexy thing to do? Because people want less, it's easier? What's the main call for it? Where is it coming from?
For me, it's 100% the sex appeal.
That's why they want you in their house. It's sex appeal. Yeah, okay. I'm not going to get very far with this bloke today, am I really? With the energy bills, we know what's coming. I mean, they're not going to go down, they're going to go up. Are we seeing generally an interest in solar and battery storage and that sort of thing? Who wants to pick up on that?
I think that should be you, Shahid, actually.
Yeah, Shahid.
You probably have the data on it.
Yeah, in terms of the consumer interest, energy bills are going to soar, we know that.
Yeah.
So is there a greater interest in solar and battery storage from consumers?
100%. In terms of even the engineers, there's a big drive for people looking at diversifying into installing renewable technology such as your solar PV, battery storage, electric vehicles, but then looking at that from a vehicle to grid perspective. You've got your battery sat on your drive, so there's loads of opportunities there. Just coming back to the open protocol thing that Remi mentioned, there is already open source information out there. So, you have devices that are DALI enabled or BACnet or Zigbee protocols if you were looking at wireless. They're all open source protocols. So there's no real restriction. It's already there. People need to just adopt it. Really.
So we're restricted by our own minds in a way, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that's an education job.
Yeah, I think there's this idea that it's difficult and that we can't do it yet. And
Is that fear of the unknown?
It's a fear of the unknown, but as Fraser says, you just have to grasp it and learn it and go with it, and it's not difficult. I honestly don't believe any of this is difficult. You just have to think, okay, I've got a little bit of new vocabulary to learn so I can know what I'm talking about. I can go to a manufacturer and get trained on their products, and then I can go and install it. And I was just talking to one of the electricians here today, and he said, I'm putting all this stuff in my house now so that I can go out and sell it to my customers, and I can say, I've got one of those. It works like this. It's brilliant.
So
it does
try
this.
before you buy, sort of thing.
Yeah, so he's going over, and he's actually looking at battery storage at the moment because he thinks it's the way forward. And I think with rising costs of fuel and everything, it probably is the way forward.
Yeah.
I would just add one comment as well. I think in terms of managing your energy costs, what we see as well in terms of heating controls, you've got different classifications. So if people are just using a base on-off thermostat, you can generate some savings for that. But if you were to upgrade that thermostat up to a modulating thermostat, if you were to install things like radiator valves into your house as well, so you can control each room independently, then without having to make a major capital investment of solar panels, of battery storage, you can save in the region of 20 to 30% just by upgrading the controls you've already got.
As much as that.
And I think that message hasn't got out to a lot of the general consumers now. They're thinking you've got to make big capital outlay to do that.
And how much of it is that, and we were talking about this on an earlier panel about, I'll wait because it'll become cheaper. Or I'll buy this one and it'll be out of date by next month. How much of there is that? Because there is new technology coming all the time. So when's the time to jump on or jump in?
I mean, from my standpoint, and I'll hand over to Fraser on that, I think the time is now. And I think the point is the government have given some incentives, not enough. You've got now 0 VAT rated on heating devices and controls.
At the moment.
Yeah, so how long it's going to last for? Who knows?
The government or the VAT? No, that's okay.
And I think the other element is I think we're at an exciting time now with a little bit about the open protocols, but things like Matter. Matter is going to be a protocol that we see is going to be used by pretty much all devices in the home.
Just explain a little bit about that.
So Matter is a technology that's got the sponsorship of Amazon, of Google, of Apple. It's a standard by which you say this is how you share data in a certain format. So we believe the adoption right the way across the industry, not just for heating devices, but for white goods, for your fridge, for your washing machine, TV, etc. I think that's going to move, and it's built off a base of Zigbee, and Wi-Fi. It's a technology that people know now.
Right.
But hopefully, it's got that backing that says everybody should incorporate that as a language that they talk, and then as a manufacturer, we differentiate by the innovation. We make it super simple to use. We make it look nice. We price it super competitively as well. So that's where our head's at. And the technology we've got on the market today will move in that direction. So I think the time is right now.
Fraser.
I think the problem is as well, though, is as installers, we're kept in the dark quite often. But by the time it comes around, we're like, what the fuck's this? And why are we sitting here? No information. We come to technical. Some guys hear their phone going, do this, do that. Listen, mate, that's not working. I'll phone you back in 10 minutes. Half an hour goes by. You're sitting there twiddling your thumbs like, come on, do you know what I mean? So how do you counteract that and help that in a further matter for us?
Well, I think training is a key part, and I think the interaction with installer groups, we need to do better.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really key point that Fraser's made there, because how much are they taken into account installers when these new products and so on? Go on, Shahid.
So we do put the message out there. So I represent.
Nice and close.
Sorry. So I represent the Electrical Contractors Association, and we put a lot of literature out there. We collaborate with manufacturers to get the up-to-date information. So our members. So if you were a member of the ECA as an organisation, you would get that message. We've been doing that for the last at least 6 years.
Go on, Fraser.
But how many people do you think that you reach, as in a theory? Like, yeah, you're saying to like a certain amount of people. Like we could say this here, they'll maybe remember it. But what about the thousands,
I
hundreds
definitely
of people?
agree. I definitely agree. There's more that can be done.
And there's one way to do it.
We do that.
And it's use the guys that are hard on the social media, that are always fitting the stuff, put it out to all their followers, and then they've got the help.
Now, let me ask you a question. Are you on the social media?
Yeah.
I thought you might say that. So then...
This isn't quite a dig at, like...
No, I know, I get that. But so, would you be prepared to talk to Shahid, for instance, and start helping each other and communicating and partnering, if you like?
Yeah, the whole reason
I'm not trying to give
I'm
you loads
on...
of work,
Yeah, no,
by the way.
I mean, I know that. But the whole reason I'm on social media is to help other people.
Yeah.
So if you watch my videos on TikTok, I've got 100,000 followers, right? So I'll do instrumental videos, and if people need help, they'll come to me, and I'll go, look, this is how it's done. This is where you can get it from.
Yeah. So, Shahid, we're talking about...
That's
You've got a
brilliant.
real life influencer here, 100,000 followers. This is a man you need to be talking to, I guess.
100%. Yeah, always happy to have that conversation. 100%.
Perfect. Well,
I mean,
that's a
we
marriage
do
made in
collaborate
heaven
with
we've
other
got going
organisations
there.
as well,
That-
such as eFix. That's another channel that we do collaborate with.
Yeah.
So we do that.
Just again, coming to you because you're there in the houses, so to speak, and I'm talking about from my age group, understanding and older. I mean, I'm not young, so my son and his son and so on. They understand all this technology. They're moving it. They're on it all the time, and so on and so forth. But there must be a resistance, I guess, at the end of the scale to adopt this kind of stuff. People have grudgingly got rid of checkbooks. I'm going. That's where I'm going. But what are you finding?
I mean, I think it's hard to please everyone, which I totally understand. But you've got to counteract that. Maybe what happens for me is their sons, their daughters see me on TikTok, and they'll phone me and go, hi, I'm looking for a bathroom for my mum. Can you come out and have a look? So I think the family can resonate and say, look, this is how it's done, this is how we're using it.
And as long as they can see the benefits, they'll understand. Go on, Shahid.
It's how it's marketed, I guess. If you think of it from a managed living situation, elderly people living by themselves, if they lived in a connected home, you've got that safety, security, you can set an alarm, if anything goes wrong, it can ring out to another organisation, i.e. an ambulance or whatever. There's an ability there, to engage the older generation.
I'd like to change subject a little bit, talk about electric cars. You mentioned it earlier. Discuss. I mean, it's such a huge discussion point, isn't it? I've got friends who've got them. We looked at it. It's expensive initial outlay. Obviously, that's one of the key criteria. Are there enough charging points? That's another criterion that causes it. What's your view on it, Shahid?
I think the sooner the better in terms of adoption. Yes, you're right. There's definitely teething problems, definitely with the charging infrastructure. But that's where training comes in. That's where us as a trade association come in to support that and support our members installing those chargers.
Is the EV market set to boom, do we think?
In my opinion, yes.
Yeah, go on. There's a very big yes from Ali here.
I think definitely, because we're out to have second-hand EV cars are coming on the market now, the ones that were in fleet cars. So I think it's, I don't know, I read yesterday that the sales of EV cars are probably going to outstrip diesel by the end of the year.
Which the government told us all to get, by the way, 10 years ago.
We've got till 2030. I know, but we've got till 2030 to stop buying fuel cars that are not EVs. So,
I think just on that as well. What's also driven, you've got the consumer side of it for sure. And we've got building regs now in new homes that says you've got to have capabilities for EV charging.
Yeah.
We've got companies as well, and I would say like with ours doing a little bit of flag waving. We've made a commitment to be net zero by 2025. All our company cars now in the next sort of 2 years will be all electric, which is quite a transition, I have to say. Whilst it's good intent, you know, getting a sales guy to use an electric car and how they've now got to think about their day is quite a challenge.
They're going to have to sort of, I mean, things like their sales visiting routes and so on. They're going to think, okay, where can I go? Because, oh, hang on, there's no charger. I can't visit that person today. That's going to affect business.
Oh, it is. We've got to rethink how we do business, in all honesty.
Yeah.
So, you know, and there's a lot of pushback. You know, I'm getting...
I thought you said push bike for a minute there. Push back, yes.
Yeah, there is, that as well. So I think we all, you know, this journey as we move away from, you know, fossil fuels, as we embrace more electrical forms of energy, we got to change things as well. It isn't a simple, I can carry on doing exactly the same thing. So we've all got to be up for those challenges as well.
Fraser, you've been straining at the leash. Let me release the beast. Go on, what were you going to say?
What is the cost of servicing an electric car? I don't know, I've not got one.
I don't have one myself.
I think
so
pretty minimal.
You've got an electric van? What's the service?
There's a gentleman over here who's got an electric car. Hang on. The cost of servicing an electric car?
0.
Slightly less than 0. There you are. So that's great news. So look, do you mind talking a little bit? Is that all right?
What is the main repairs of an electric car?
Tyres.
Tyres. What if the battery breaks inside?
You're screwed.
Never had any
So
problems in 3 years.
How much?
3 years.
3 years. That wouldn't convince me.
So what have you seen
that
the
sounded
main...
quite like an aggressive kind of. That wouldn't convince me.
No, it wasn't like an aggressive one. It was an aggressive one. It's just...
But like as I say, like for renewable technology in homes, you're wanting to fit heat pumps in people's houses. 6-7 years time, the heat pump breaks down. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, has she got $6,000 to replace a heat pump? No. It's like I get the theory inside it is magical, but the practicality for me and other installers, it just isn't there.
I think it's a no from Fraser at the moment, but if we convince...
Cars.
What's that?
I thought we were talking about car batteries.
No, yes, we were. Don't worry, that's okay. This gentleman over here, thank you. This gentleman here.
Sorry, my only question is, I'm not really interested in a car. I'm a heating engineer. I need a van with half a ton of equipment in the back. So all the amazing figures of 200 miles travelled doesn't work at all for me. I want just 30 miles travelled with half a ton of equipment. And the second thing about heat pumps, because I'm also interested in heat pumps as well down in London, is that I do think we need to wait for government to actually realise that most people cannot afford it. Even with $5,000 up front, which apparently there's problems with anyway, I think government has to step in. But I think we need government to step in on everything now.
No, we do. I fully agree. I think the government need to step up because the capital outlay is high on it. What we do see where heat pumps will get quick adoption is in new build. So that segment certainly will, I think, be the vast majority of where heat pumps are installed. In that new design, you can put a specification, you can put building regs in place, you've got much better insulation in the home, etc. So it's a natural fit there. The big question mark is retrofit. You're right. We've got terribly insulated homes. So I'll hand over to Fraser now.
But again, retrofitting, how many of these, like, we see it time and time again, right? What's going to happen is people are going to have to do, like, boxed or payment plans to get their heat pumps, affordability, and then it makes it harder for them to buy other stuff, like mortgages and stuff like that. And then it's just...
But I do think, though, that there are going to have to be new business models.
And then
we
also-
can't have it as a straight capex. So,
But on top of that...
Go on.
But on top of that, you've got the retrofitting, right? We know as heating installers, guys just want to fit boilers and bugger off, right? How many of these designs are getting done properly by all these companies that are getting grants with backhand payments, and people, customers, homeowners are getting screwed over left, right and centre? Because I have customers crying, asking me to rip stuff out because they've been shafted.
by the way, I'm not selling heat pumps.
No, just to make that quite clear. But it's interesting because we haven't. The gentleman over there made the comment about vehicles and so on. He's right, isn't he? 200 miles and it's sell you the dream. But actually, an installer with a van, 30 miles up the road, hang on a minute, I'm running out of power. Now where am I going to charge it? Can I charge it at the customer's home I'm going to? Probably not, because there isn't enough.
And also, it was actually just posted in one of the chats that a guy tried to charge his van at the customer's house, and she said no.
Right, which is what my next point was going to be, you know. So it's a difficult one. Anybody else want any questions or comments? Yes, let me come to you. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
So I'm David. I'm a electrician, self-employed, and I have an electric van. So I love it. I get roughly 120 miles out of it, fully charged. It's great. It covers the whole area that I work in. So the technology is there for you to go your 30 miles and install your heat pump once you get it. But the technology is improving. I mean, the big transit in the corner over there is up to 190 miles, and it's a 65 kilowatt battery. So obviously with weight and things like that, and you've got a full loaded van. Now my van's fully loaded, and I still get 120 miles. But for those guys who do cover further afield, then yes, but the technology will come. Mercedes has got a vehicle out just now with a 100 kilowatt battery in it, but they're releasing it in stages. So that will happen. The actual the range is there.
How much was your van?
But I lease it, so it's great. And I don't pay I've done over 10,000 miles in the van, not paid a penny in fuel.
And he's sitting there looking pretty smug, I've got to tell you.
Well, I think maybe at the moment it's horses for courses, because there's plenty of the electricians that I work with or that JTL works with, and they're using electric vans all the time, and they just make it work for them. So they've got a mixed fleet of diesel and electric, and if it's local, they're just on electric. I'm lucky because I live in Brighton, and we have a lot of charge points, street charging points, fast and slow ones off lampposts and the like. But I don't know anyone that's had a problem working there. But I guess we're probably luckier than some of the other cities around the country.
Hold on. I heard the bit, we're in Scotland, so we haven't got enough charging points now.
We're in Scotland, so we are very remote. And I mean, you can go from one area to the other. In the whole of the Cairngorms area, there's only about 3 chargers, so which is a vast area of our country. But you just need to plan. You know, when I'm charging my van, that's when I'm doing my paperwork. That's when I'm sending my customers invoices. That's when I'm texting to tell them when I'm going to be there. It's all about, you know, making sure you plan to do your job, just like you would when you're doing your diary for the next week. Just factor in your charging. That's all it is.
So I think from that, when I started work, petrol stations were shut in the evening and shut on Sundays. And so it was always in your mind, I need a full tank so I can get through to Monday when it opens again. But we've got now so used to 24-hour petrol stations that you don't think that. You just think, I can rock up a couple of miles at most and there'll be a station I can fill up with fuel. It's going back to that slightly old-fashioned way of thinking, isn't it? And as you say, planning. Well, I never had a problem planning when I was younger, so why should I have a problem now if I get an electric vehicle and I've got to think about it? There's the map, the Zappi map, which shows you where all the charge points are, so you can plan your journey to include charging if you want and everything. I think we don't like change. That's what it is. I think people don't like change, and so we tend to find things that make it You know, we make problems where there might not be a problem. There's some genuine problems, and we've got a long way to go. I'm not denying that, but
Maintenance.
Maintenance of the charging stations is an issue, because if you're planning your journey to go to that one charging
Yeah,
station
and it's
because
not
that's en
working.
route, it's not working, you're
Yeah.
snookered. Do you know what else are you going to do about that?
So what do
I-
you do
I
there?
echo that.
So what would you do if your charger's broken, you're out of fuel and you're sitting there?
the AA will come and give you a boost, because I've seen it on the side of the motorway a few
It's
times.
like, again, I agree with what you're saying. Leasing the van's brilliant if you can afford to lease the van. And again, if you can get AA out to support you, fantastic. It's a great idea. It's about adaptation, but a lot of the people cannot afford the costs, which is fine for an electrician who's obviously loaded. Do you know what I mean?
Listen, can I just tell you, when he's charging his vehicle, he's not reading his things. He's looking at his bank statement.
He's wiping his tears with £50 notes.
Yeah. He's burning them. No, he's not, because that's not friendly. But it's an interesting point, isn't it? But do you think it's something you will have to come to? Because we were talking earlier about all these government things, about someone saying the government need to mandate this. It needs to be mandatory that you're going to have to drive.
I'd love to. In theory, right, I think renewables is amazing. I fitted heat pumps for ages, ground source, air source, but it was like, again, there was other people that we were going into and we were ripping their work out because they're paying thousands of pounds a month.
Yeah, I mean, to echo our friends, your point, I think, actually, about the availability and the maintenance. So I had a friend come to visit me. He was very proud. He's got his new 60 grand electric car, etc., etc. And he said, when I get to you, I'm going to have to find somewhere to charge. All right, I've looked at the maps. 4 places we went to, none of them was working. And that's the issue. So what's the industry going to do about that? And whose responsibility is that?
Also, can we support this? Like, if you think everybody in here I've got an electric car, we need to charge it. How many car chargers you got?
Well, that's the other thing, of
And
course.
how much power is this going to draw on the grid from car chargers, heat pumps, your electric for your house, your ovens, your kettles?
There is that question. I mean, Ali, what's your view on this? Because is it going to put a huge strain on the system, or which is going to fuse the whole country at some stage?
Well, I think that's what I worry about sometimes, but my understanding is no, because there's load curtailment, so once a lot of car chargers are plugged in, they'll slow down, but the grid can manage it, and we need
It's
to
not like the kettles at half-time of the World Cup final sort of thing.
Well, maybe we'll never win again,
No,
and we won't have to worry about the grid going down because all the kettles go on. But the grid can cope with planning, but with renewables, it's harder to kick them in and out. So this is where battery storage comes into its own, because if you can generate and store electricity, then you can use it. It's available to you to use when you want it.
And that's the thing, isn't it?
And that's why the push now is towards everybody having their own, well, being prosumers. We can say that, can't we, Shahid?
Yeah.
Being prosumers, because the BS 7671 brought out its second amendment with its brand new chapter, and they want us all to become prosumers, so we will both produce and consume electricity.
Wow. I've learned a new word today. Shahid, were you going to come in just then and say something?
Well, I think Remi was.
Remi,
Go
sorry.
ahead,
I think that whilst we say the grid is able to cope with it, it is if there's some self-generation as well. So you've got to be able to balance that people are producing with, solar, PVs, etc. We're using battery storage, and we're using the electricity more efficiently as well. So we're not all doing things at the same time of day.
Yeah.
And I do think technology has a big role to play in that. A lot of what we're investing and developing in now is around things like time of use tariffs, looking at things like demand side response, guiding the consumer to say, you don't need to have all your electrical devices on now. Charge your car later in the evening, or we can do it for you when it's better to do. So I think automation and technology has to play a big part in making sure we don't overstep the mark and that we don't, knock the grid out, or consumers are still able to live their life the way. What we don't want to do is people getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, all charging the cars, and there's a big peak at 3 o'clock in the morning instead of 6 o'clock in the
It's when Fraser's
evening.
just coming home normally.
But the problem is, right, at the end of the day, some people are just stupid. Like, do you know what I mean? It's true. Like, or
Maybe that's what automation
as
is
soon as
for.
you say, there could be a bread shortage, do you know what I mean? Karen's doing Tesco's taking 65 loaves of bread. and it runs out of date in 2 days.
Yeah, fair enough. I love it. Maybe one day we'll see electric aeroplanes. Who knows? Who'd get in one of those? I'm not sure I would. Have you charged it enough? Well, it should be enough. What would we like to see from the government? What do we think we need to get them to accelerate the use of clean electricity? Go on.
The government do not care about the working class.
There's a political comment, first of the day we've had here. But you know, to promote this though, I mean, what do we need to see more from them?
I think grants is one element, you know, for sure. You know, in some instances the technology is expensive at this moment in time. So I think any help that we can give people, I think if we want it to be mass market, we have to make sure that, you know, we are looking at not just the prosumer high end who can afford to do it everything. We've got to make it mass market. So the government helping to sort of subsidise or fund that to get us over there so that people are adopting the technology in the majority of homes.
Pressure.
Pressure.
I get everybody's a competitor. Like, I've got competition. Stevie, he's my local gas competition bathrooms. He's one of my good best mates. And we all just need to work together as a happy family and put pressure on it to make it happen.
Can that happen, do you think? There's nodding heads. Okay.
Yes, I think I said early doors. Collaboration and partnerships has to be the way
So
forward.
let me ask a question. This is my favourite question last time we had this event, okay? It's like 9 months ago. Lots heard and lots said about collaboration and very good words and sincere words. But how? Because you've got different people, you've got competitors, you've got different people with different skin in the game, so to speak. Who's going to pick it up and run with it? Is it you with your followers? Is it you? You know, how does it work?
You find the biggest social media platform that you can and try and get people to pressurise it, to push it, talk about it. How many things do you see on TikTok that, like, for instance, I'm going to go, for instance, like your local...
Remi and I are looking at each other going, what is TikTok? No, I'm joking.
I'm just phoning my kids up now.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised the amount of people that are older that actually are with the times and have the technology.
He's looking at me. I love you, mate.
But we need to find a way to make it happen. And it will only happen if we didn't come together.
So,
Simple.
Shahid, how does that pressure happen? How do we get people to talk to each other to make this happen, to get a movement going?
Well, I think you've covered it, you know, pretty well. It's social media, 100%. It's educating the clients, educating our members, us as an organisation, lobbying the government, responding to any consultation that they do. It's working in partnership with the manufacturers. It's all of us putting that pressure on.
Ali, anything to add to that?
Oh, I'm training as well. Sorry, Ali.
I was just going to, well, it was nice for you to leave something for her to say, actually. I thought...
I was just going to say and training, but it's one of those things. We're going in this direction, like it or not.
Yeah.
So we have to train people, we have to educate people, and that's not just installers, it's going to be the people buying the products and using them as well. And we have to work together.
And yet again, you know, as when we've been talking about boilers and things today, the installers are the sales force. They are the biggest
100%.
voice in the industry.
It's even like how many times I've came across a problem and I've went, right, I'll need to jump on YouTube, and the manufacturers put a video up on how to install or fix a problem, and honestly, you'd be as well as watching it backwards because it is no helpful. But if you've got an installer who can work with the manufacturer and do a detailed video on, look guys, these are the problems we're coming across, this is the solutions to fix them, and not even just me. Like there's Peter, there's IRB, and there's just everybody working together to sort it.
So how often do manufacturers talk to installers and say, tell us the problems you're encountering, let's make a video for the consumer in a language they'll understand? Because I've looked at the internet, YouTube for videos, I'm not going to go into which ones, but videos to help me put things together when I've got them back, you know, it comes through the post, and then I don't understand what they're talking about. Why don't you just say, get that bit and put it in that bit, you know, whatever it might be?
So I think the short answer is not enough, I guess.
Right.
So the element we do have is we do have installer programs, you know, and we have, as an organisation, we do Facebook sessions, training elements, everything that we do via discussion is put on videos. We invite installers to come on and present onto our forums. But I would tend to say the challenge for a manufacturer is we don't cover all installers.
Understand
so
that.
we've got a segment that we try and do, but my challenge to my team is how do we get access to more installers? Because I think there is a desire to do more videos. We think that's the way people want to do
we're
things.
a video world
But-
now, aren't we? You know, and it doesn't have to have that great production values. Just someone with a phone
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah,
That's perfectly
true.
acceptable. Go on.
Like, for instance, right, how do you get access to more installers? So, like,
Through installers, surely.
ECA
like,
members.
there's Peter Booth, Alan Hart, they've got 60,000 followers, roughly each. There's your access to 120,000 people. That 120,000 people, what if 30,000 of them share it with their mates that are installers?
Yeah,
Oh, mate, have a
exactly,
look at
exactly.
this. And then that's in your head, and you know, oh, I've got a problem with this. I can now go and find his video, and I can...
On average, someone, if has a good meal at a restaurant, will share it with 9 people. If they had a bad experience, they'll share it with 13, I think it is, something like that. So you're right, it's that mushroom effect out, or the ripple effect, whatever you want to call it, will have an effect. Okay, anybody else, any questions, any comments, any...
Just to add to that, sorry.
Oh, yeah,
before
yeah,
move
sorry,
on.
you.
I don't usually defend the manufacturers, but in this instance I will. So they do a lot with our members. They present directly to them. So we've got 3,000 member companies across most of the UK, not Scotland, because Select is up in Scotland. But they do a lot there in terms of presentations. And on the individual websites, I know Schneider's pretty good at this. They've got Schneider University, so you can go on there and you can learn quite a lot just by looking at the literature that's on there. Eaton do one as well, so I'm not being biased.
Ali, is there a role for you in all of this as well? In terms of, I mean, you're training people all the time. So you're the first touch point for a lot of people. So what can you do to make this happen?
Well, I think we do a range of things, and I think we're not the only people that work like this. So we have, we've been working on the Power Up app at JTL, so that provides CPD modules for people, but more in general terms of like, so we've got some CPD on what smart homes are, what smart lighting is and all the rest of it, and other things. We also train apprentices, but of course the units, it's such a rapidly changing market, emerging technologies and this kind of technology. It's hard for the standard certificated courses to keep up with it, but they are there, and I think you should be using a mixture of both. Get yourself qualified, but I would still say to somebody, you've got a problem? Look on YouTube. And because I'm an electrician, I'd probably go, oh, you know, there's Sparky Ninja, there's eFix, there's a few others. I'd go see what they say, or go to the manufacturer's website and look at what training modules they've got, because they're all, a lot of them are free, and they're very useful if you sort of want to know something.
Yeah, again, I come back to this thing as a consumer. I mean, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. You know, when I go to the doctor, I want him to talk to me in that language I'll understand. And so the responsibility there is language that people understand as well, isn't it?
There are some great websites where the information is aimed at electric... Well, I'm going to talk about electricians, I'm not plumbing. Ugh, it's wet, it's water.
He just rolled his eyes, gone to sleep.
Water, gas, yeah, anyway. But electricians, you know, the language is aimed at qualified electricians, so they'll know what's being said. Somebody who's not qualified would probably struggle with it,
Yeah.
but it's just pitched right. So as an
Right,
electrician,
okay.
you go, oh, right, oh, bloody hell, that's
I've
what I
got
need
this.
to do then,
Yeah.
why did I not realise that? Yeah. And there's so much out there, so much out there.
I think as well as how many people don't read instructions when they fit stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Open the box straight away.
I don't include me in that.
But if you could, listen, for me, right, if I could go to fit something, IKEA furniture, right, I'd rather hit that stuff with a sledgehammer. If you could go into a video and just, listen, pop this here, pop that there and slide it in, no problem. But you're reading Chinese writing, or, do you know what I mean? So it's like, it can be very confusing. So videos, access to it, here's the link here.
There are people now who go out and all they do is put IKEA furniture together for you. You pay them to come to your home, say here it all is. So even there's a solution for that. But no, I hear what you're saying. Time for one last question. If anybody would like to ask one or comment or observation, there's someone with a hand up there. Oh, sir, yes, let me come. Would you come a bit further forward so that we can pick it up on our system? I'm sorry to ask you to do that. He's coming this way. He's even got his heart. I know where you got that from. Well done. wears his heart on his, well, trousers. There you are.
Regarding electric heat pumps and what have you, what about consideration for the wood burners which are still being installed? Is it?
Consideration for the wood burners that are still being installed as an option. What's the
Well,
view?
this is what we've had a discussion now. Is are we going to have to go back to that because things are getting so expensive? Because I can't remember who it was. They were like, I've had people asking to take their gas boilers out, shut them out, and put wood burning stoves in. But as well as that, I think we're also scaring customers as well about the whole situation.
Do you think the media has a responsibility here?
Massive.
Because every day they're talking us into this situation of danger. We're going into recessions. We've got everything going. There is that happening, isn't there?
Because if you speak negatively, if you think negatively, negative things are going to happen. If you think positively, you're more likely going to have a positive outlook on a situation.
What's your view?
Well, I think it's an alternative, but there's sort of emission problems with the wood burners, of course. But if they burn the right wood type, it could be good, clean option for the environment.
Right, thank you. Anybody else want to make a comment or? Okay, look, panel, been a great session. I'm sorry you all held back in coming forward, but there you are. I want to ask you. I'm going to start, Shahid, with you, and I ask this on all the panels. What do you see as the biggest challenge going forward?
It's just education and selling the story correctly. I think that's
Education
the
of
biggest
who?
challenge. Everybody.
Everybody.
To some extent. So that's from the customers on the ground to contractors to consultants to manufacturers. I think it's all the way through.
Wow, that's a big topic. So how do you overcome that? I'm sorry, I was going to leave it at that, but I thought it's such a big topic. How do you overcome it? Because it's a simple thing to say, and I know we've got. I know you're going to. Yeah.
Ali will sort everyone out.
Thank goodness we've got Ali
I
here.
just go, listen to what I say. I think it's got to be that. I think we're resistant to change. So it's giving out the right message, and it's being positive about it. Because like Fraser just said, if you think negative things will happen. We've got to keep saying it. It's not going away. We're not going to suddenly one day wake up and go, oh, do you know what? This was a bad idea. Let's go back to fossil fuels. We're not going to do that. So it's up to us to promote the message that this is the way forward. It's up to companies to carry on innovating and find better and better ways to do things. Prices will come down. People will start to understand it'll work. And that resistance to change will, over time, just disappear. You know, when you think about I'm going to go off piece slightly. My mum is nearly 90. She's really into technology. So she's on video calls. She's got her smartphone. She does all these things. And she just says, well, why would I not?
Yeah, we see, but then the other side of that coin is my mother-in-law says, I'll space-time you. So, I mean, and I'm not joking. She'll tell you that herself. She said, I'll get you on space-time. Okay. But, I mean... But, no, thank you for that. Yeah, go on, Fraser.
But the thing is, this is what I said. Oh, the prices will come down. Can you guarantee that? Because why would they bring the price down when they're already coining it in?
Well, I suppose that when I started working with circuit breakers came in, they were wildly expensive because we were still, I'm this old, but we were still using mainly rewirables in domestic properties. Circuit breakers were this amazing thing. And now you look at them and they're like, what, £5?
£5, yeah.
And
But
Remi, you're coining it in. Yeah. Look at his suit and socks. He's coining it in. Oh.
No, I was saying, yes, I can't afford a mic. I would actually say that's why it's important it becomes mass market. That's the main element. When you get volume, when it does become mass market, as manufacturers, we have to drive the price down. And we need everybody to be competing on a level playing field because, competition will also drive prices down as well. So, we've not got to be scared of competition. Yeah. We've got to believe that we need to make it right for the mass market.
I think Fraser's got a view on this.
But it's also 2022, and everybody knows what they can get away with now.
What do you mean by get away with?
Even manufacturers, price increases are coming and coming and coming, and they're no stopping.
Look, I'm going to agree with you here because in another life, and there's no one here to blame, we were told petrol was coming down by 5p. What happened? It went up overnight.
And as well as that is there's so many engineers struggling price-wise. And if manufacturers keep going up, the volume of sales are going to go down. Boiler sales have smashed into the floor because they can't produce stuff, which I get is COVID related that everybody keeps using that excuse now.
He's so cynical, isn't
Am I
he?
defending all manufacturers here? No, it's,
You are. You're.
joking aside, I mean, you just got to see. I think we're going through a short.
Remember, you've got Italian roots, so I mean, we've got to be careful here.
We're going through a short-term bubble where everything is going up. So to actually transport goods, the price of petrol is going up. Component parts, if you can get hold of the component parts. I mean, we for example, place an order to get 100 pieces. The supplier will deliver 40 pieces, and then they'll say, well, the other 60, if you want them, you have to pay more. So I think it's a dynamic that's gone all the way down the supply chain that we've got to try and counter. I agree, because we can't just keep, keep going up.
Fraser's got a point, because it doesn't matter what trade you're talking about. There have been opportunists who've gone, well, you know, I can't get the things in, Brexit and COVID, and the costs going up. So there's a small word, but it has a lot of meaning to it. It's trust. There's got to be a contrast there as well, isn't there?
It's like, obviously, manufacturers are saying they care and they care about everything, right? But at the end of the day, I get, you run a business, you need to make a profit. But without your guys, without us, do you know what I mean? You just haven't got anything. So if this is what's happening is we're feeling that we're not getting looked after. We're all feeling let down. We're letting our customers down. So we're getting fed up. And like, I get the guy at the top only sees the margins, oh, this needs to go up. But at the end of the day, if you piss enough people off, they're going to walk.
There's going to be riots outside manufacturers. I can see it coming now.
I do think there is a responsibility for sure. Some people are profiteers.
Okay.
We don't have one brush that we paint everybody with.
I don't think. I don't think you can paint everyone with the same brush. To be fair, Fraser. So look, we've got communication. I think education came from Shahid. Well, what's the biggest challenge you can see?
I think it is an informed consumer and an informed installer. That's it. Those are the two elements. I think if we do both of those coming
Crack
together,
those,
I think
we're
so.
winning.
Affordability.
Say again.
Affordability.
Affordability. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And Ali.
Yeah, I have to say all of before and resistance to change.
Yeah.
We've never done it before. We don't want to do it now.
The British are the least likely to change their daily newspaper reading habits. Did you know that in the world? I don't know why, but we are. So I don't read them anymore, but there you go. Listen, Ali, Fraser, Remi and Shahid, thank you so much. A great discussion, which we could go on for hours and come to blows at some stage, I'm sure, but friendly blows. A friendly fire, I'm sure. So would you please give it up for our panel? It's been a great discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you.